I went to the ortho today and he said, you can get rid of the boot. So after 3 weeks, no more boot. Hey, cycling community, this is Steve, Crucis the Cycling Greek. So to catch you up a bit, if you haven't known about this, I had a lot of pain in my leg and I went to the orthopedic and they took x-rays and it didn't show anything. And they did some other diagnostics and said, you know, we're going to treat this as if it was a stress fracture. So with x-rays, they don't always show stress fractures, so it's not uncommon. So I had the boot for 3 weeks. I went back today, this morning actually, and I actually went in with my shoe in hand just in case, Hope Springs Eternal, and I got to walk out with 2 shoes. There's a number of questions that have come out from this, and the first is, was it a stress fracture? Before I go see the doctor each visit, I get an x-ray. So the first time I went, I got an x-ray, and again, as I said, nothing showed on that. So we were very curious to see what was going to happen this time. Unfortunately, the x-ray department was just backed up. I was there for an hour. By the time I got out, and never got an x-ray, and I'm sure if I waited around for another hour, I could have gotten another x-ray. I just didn't want to do that. As the doctor said, that all it would do is show me if I had a stress fracture or not. Regardless, I was advanced enough where I could just get rid of the boot and then go on with the rest of my life. Well, there's other provisions that we'll talk about, some instructions that he gave me. I did take a blood test when I was first there, and he wanted to measure my vitamin D levels. I had to be above 30. I was 34, which is good. He said he preferred that I be at least 40. And I was taking some vitamin D supplements, D3 supplements, but they were very minimal. And it said basically I should take 10 times as much. So I'll be taking a lot more vitamin D now. Going back to the bone break. When you have a substantial break, like say what I had with my collarbone some years back, they'll pin it to stabilize it because it has to be stabilized before it'll start healing. But with the collarbone, there was chips missing, so there were big gaps that had to be filled in. So with the stress fracture, it's already stable, and you probably don't have any chips that are missing. Maybe just a little crack in there, so there's not a lot to fill in. So the first thing that happens is that the matrix has to be formed. And by the way, you need protein to form that matrix. And after the matrix is formed, after about 10 days or so, then it starts to fill in with calcium. So again, stress fracture, smaller break, less to fill in. So that's why it was good to go after 3 weeks. There's probably more healing that has to happen if I did have a stress fracture. We still don't know that. Okay, so the second question is, what did I lose during those 3 weeks? Well, a little bit of endurance. Now, I did get to ride on the trainer as long as I wore the boot. And that was a bit of a challenge, but then I got used to that. I even did a Zwift crit, in which I did okay. You can check my, I'll put a link in the description below for that video. I also got to do upper body lifting. Of course, there was muscle loss, and now the left leg, not so much, because I was still doing one-legged squats, not with weights, but with body weights. So the muscle loss that I have is in the right leg, but that should come back rather quickly because of the concept of neomyonucleotides. In terms of the endurance, I lose a little bit of mitochondrial density in the right leg. But again, endurance is the last thing to go, and that should be picking it up. That should be picking that up pretty quickly. Let's see what else. Lost my tan in my legs. I'm a white boy again. Okay. So now the third and last question is, now what? So the instructions that he gave me. I can continue with my off-season program, and I described the program to him. All he said was, just start off slow and build up evenly. After the first week or so, then I have to be careful about jumping too much, because that will be in line with my personality. In terms of squats and deadlifts, I was doing lots of squats and deadlifts, and I was into the heavy phase when I ran into this problem. So I was speaking with a good friend of mine who used to be a competitive bodybuilder, and he was also a racer. And we came up with the following plan, that in terms of squats, and because my first race is in about 2.5 months, which is not all that far away, that I may have lost a little bit of adaptation. So if I started with squats, with heavier squats, that may affect my riding. That I don't want to affect. That I don't want to have happen now. So I will be doing very light squats, probably just the 45-pound bar and doing, sets of 20, sets of 25, something like that. In terms of the deadlifts though, I'll be working up to get back to the heavy lifts again and trying to go for even heavier lifts. Reason being is that the deadlift is not going to affect my quads as much, and it is a single hinge exercise. So you hinge at the hips as opposed to squats where you're hinging at the hips and you're hinging at the knees. Now, I was also doing plyometrics, which if I did have a stress fracture, that's where the problem came. And not just jumping onto a box. I was doing some fancier stuff, let's say speed skater type, where I'm going back and forth, which maybe with me as being an old guy I shouldn't be doing, or I shouldn't have been doing as much as I was doing. Okay, so now we talk about on the bike. Ordinarily, if I didn't have the problem that I had, I would have already started tempo work and looking to start sweet spot work coming up in another week or so. But obviously that's not the case. Today, I got home. I was so excited. I went out on the bike. I went for a 75-minute small ring spin, and in the sun, that sure felt good. Probably go ride tomorrow. Take Friday off, and then Saturday is typically my longer days. And I've already set up a ride with a teammate. Hopefully, I'm going to get another couple of people to join, where we're going to be doing endurance-based pace line work that'll be going for 40 or 50 miles on flats. I may ride Sunday, I may not, may go swimming on Sunday, but if I survive all that, then I should be good to advance. And so in terms of advancing, I would probably start introducing tempo work next week sometime. I'd also look to start again on my 4-minute VO2 max intervals, and I've been doing those each week during the off season. Why? Because I'm an old guy and you need to keep your VO2 max up. Last thing is I was curious to see on how my weight would do during this 3 weeks off. And I was doing pretty good. Then Thanksgiving came, and so that became a little bit of a challenge. But fortunately, I've gotten to the point, and this is really the first off season where I've been able to do this, where I've gotten into an eating regimen, eating style, where I'm able to maintain it. And so my weight before this incident was in the mid to high 150s. I raced in the low 160s, and so I was able to get down to this weight because of all the type of long distance training I was doing this past season. Tomorrow morning I'm going to weigh this. I'm going to stick that the weighing on the end of this video, and if I'm anywhere close to 160, I'll be very, very happy. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. If you've been in this situation, please comment below. I love reading that stuff. All right, you know the drill. Comment, like, subscribe, and like it. I need a lot of likes. The Cycling Greek. Let's see the damage. Ugh, thought I was getting a little pudgy.